I left a couple of things on the variable. I don't know how I missed it, but small things I will cover quickly. Then we will go there. Okay. So what I'll do is, yeah, I'll cover it right here. Okay. So yeah, there's something called read-only and constants. Okay, which you that is also important, small but important because a lot of places you see the use. So what happens is read-only that.
I'm yeah, are you sharing the screen? Like I'm not seeing anything. Like just
Okay.
shows the blank.
I think. Mhm. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about the read-only. Uh, like sometimes what happens is we do not want any other developers or any other person to modify some value once it is assigned. Okay. So there is various way to do it. One is using showed you that is get set. Okay, that
Mm.
means what you do is that public uh, property read only. That's why I'm giving a prop read only. Uh, okay. Then prop read only get average set. That means it will be only be set by can can assign value only inside the class. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. So that is one way. Another is public constant const string const read only. Okay. So if you try to constant is constant. Okay. There's some yeah, this word means keyword for constant. So let's try to modify this value. It should not allow it to align. Hmm. It should compilation error. I'm not sure why it is not giving. Okay, first we'll write, then we will compare. Okay. Then
Oh,
there's something called read only. Okay. Public read only. Read only variable. So yeah, fine. So yeah, what happens is sometimes we have to write some code where you let's say there is database connections. Okay. So somebody is doing database operations, and you are a team who actually handles the data, like handle database operations, and other team uses. So let's say to protect your code, somebody has read the database connections. Like for database connection, we need certain something called connection string, which stores the details of the database through which we collect. Okay, it may be server name, credentials, everything. So once it is set, do not want someone to change. Means maliciously, maybe somebody can hack into your code and they can change the string then the data will go to some other database, right? It's very
Yeah.
dangerous thing. And same with your logging, some of the things we, yeah, like common utility things like database connections, logging. You want only one instance to be created or one initialization. You do not want, you know, multiple initialization. Then you need this one. Read only constants and specially tested properties also we can use. Okay.
o-
Okay. So let's I will invoke this method. The test app. So where I have written this one inside the test app. Okay. So now
mhm.
let's go and create an instance of this one of this class and let's try playing this. Yeah, this is the one, right? Whitish. So now let's run and see what's happening over here. Okay. So constant, as I said, it should be first we'll try with constant. Okay, then we will see read only. So read only ideally what we do is we assign it using constructor, but let's focus only on the constant now. Then I'll come back to read only.
Okay.
This is a very small thing, not a thing, Okay, I did not set it as a stat app. I need to set this as a startup app, startup project. So we will quickly run it. Oh, error. Some compilation issues. Just forget about for time being.
Okay.
Yeah, see, it is giving error, right? Left hand, as you can see, I cannot bold it. So as you can see, the left hand side of an assignment must be a variable, right? It is constant. It is not variable. That's what he's saying. You cannot
Okay.
assign. Once it is assigned, you cannot change it. Okay. So once assigned must be assigned during declaration and cannot be changed. Okay, now try the let's try the other one. Yeah, it is also giving. Okay. A read-only field can be assigned inside the constructor or um, unit on setter of the type in which field is defined. That means when you are setting the variable, okay, can be assigned while no during declaration or inside a
Inside the construct.
constructor. Okay, constructor. So, okay, how inside the constructor? Let's see. We'll take another variable. We will not use this one. Sorry. We'll take the constructor. Already we discussed the constructor, you know, right?
Yeah.
Why intelligence is not working properly today? It's giving me weird suggestions. Okay, because this is not the constructor. No, that's it's a method. Public will only test. Ideally, global variable declaration you should do on the top. Okay, let's say you are declaring some variable on the class level. Okay, so you
Mm.
must like it's not must, it's not necessary though. You should declare all those variables on the beginning of the class, all the properties, variables, whatever it is, and then use it inside the class. Like after the class methods, you should not declare variables. You can declare after the method also because it is a class, right? These
Okay.
variables. This
Mm.
has class scope. Like all the methods can access these variables, right? Inside the
Mm.
class. So you just declare it on the top. So yeah, read only test. So read only test. Then we will try to assign this one. Yeah, it will not give any error. So two things. First is that constant you can declare while you can assign when it is declared and you cannot change. Did only yeah you can change but only within the constructor. Okay.
Mm.
And once it is assigned, like in this case it is assigned, right?
Yeah.
It-
You can't be.
You cannot
Oh.
you cannot. Okay. So ideally read only we decide when we take when we use in constructor. So when during assign during the initialization phase or maybe or just plain and simple thing inside the constructor. So now the question is that why like if the constant is there we can just simply assign the hard coded value and then use it. Why what is the need of having a read only then? So the need of read only is that sometimes we are not sure about the value to be assigned. It has to be assigned during runtime when the program is running. For example, is the connection string. So what happens is you have to run the program. You have to run the app.config or web.config file, read the value, and then read
Pass
the
it to
value,
the.
pass it to the read only. Okay, and after that it cannot be changed. So when you have to read something on the runtime, and it has to once it is read, it has to be constant. Then use read only. But something you want to hard code. Let's say in database connections, what we do is we write a lot of stored procedures, right, in database.
Mm.
And instead of using that directly, what we create a constant file, and in the constant we declare a separate constants. Okay, and we assign those SP name for that. We assign that SP names to a constant variable. Okay, and use it throughout. Okay, and also one thing you can use using static keyword also.
Okay.
Okay, static also applicable here. And what is the property of static? Can you tell me?
Mm.
Yeah,
I
so
don't.
let me reiterate. Static is something in terms of CLR. Static. Okay, constant. You can declare static class, and instead that you can write a constant. Okay. So ideally, what we do, we create a static class. So yeah, coming to the static, yeah, what we do is static is something which is loaded directly. We do not have to create any
You
object.
don't have.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it will load it into memory directly, and it can be accessed class name dot object name dot object name or the variable name. Yeah. So in these cases, what we do is we just declare static class, and inside that we variable constant variables, and we use it. Okay, so that is another use of constant. So yeah, these are
Oh,
things we
the class itself is uh,
hmm?
the class itself is marked as static, and the variables are declared inside it. So those are
Yeah.
all static
See,
variables,
class
is it?
can be static. Yeah. So let me clear the confusion. Class can also be static. Variable can be static. So if you
Oh,
declare
okay.
a class static, automatically everything inside becomes static. Okay. One example you can see directly. Uh,
The program main.
from main is not static, but yeah, you can write a static class. You want me to show you example? I can show you. Let me write static. This will come, so I'm not focusing much, but yeah, since you asked, it's my job to clear your doubts. Everything inside becomes static. Okay, and
Okay.
you cannot have a constructor because even constructor has to be also static. Okay, and something changes here. Yeah, ideally cannot declare constructor. There is a reason for that. Yeah, this will come, but I didn't want to discuss before. Anyway, since you asked me, let's discuss this. So yeah, forget about these things. I'll delete, otherwise it's more confusing. So when you declare static, anything written inside becomes static. So let's say public int test, it becomes static variable. Okay, yeah, it's giving starting giving error. You have to declare as static. Okay, so everything becomes that there is static. You can access
Mm.
directly. You do not have to create object. Since you do not have to create object, there is no need of constructor.
Okay.
Okay, there is no need of any constructor here. Right? Because constructor is
Mm.
something you need to access something inside that, and you need to initialize. It is by default initialized. So what is the use of that? You do not write any kind of there are some cases we use static classes. Okay, something called singleton pattern is there, but let's not go into that. But the main use is that one example that I have showed you. Right? I have something called store procedure class, store proc. So what I will do is I store proc names. Okay, so my test SP I have. So what I'll do is I will just write this name, and I because this is a constant value, right? I need throughout the application, irrespective
Mm.
of where I'm. If I want to access some SP, I have to just refer this variable, right?
Mm.
I don't have to do any changes. So there, if it is loaded one time, it is fine. Like, if it is loading at the startup, because I'm not doing any logic, there is nothing written over here. Just I'm assigning to a value. And also the best thing is that I can just directly access. I don't have to do initialization and everything, right? So if
Yeah.
I'm doing some store proc operations, I just have to do class name dot file name. Okay. And it has to be why constant is it's supposed to be constant. Yes. Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. You cannot take constant. You have to take read only. Constant doesn't support in the support static. So yeah, sorry for that. Some piece confusion. So yeah, you can take read only. So ideally we write like that. But this is one use of the static. So there are a lot of uses, but this is one of the important ones. Okay. And yeah. So one thing also we missed is that your on the oops concept. The last thing we missed is the overloading and overriding. Okay, overriding already we discussed, like using abstract keyword, virtual keyword.
Virtual.
Overloading we
Mm.
did not discuss. So overloading is very, very simple concept. I will discuss right it here. Okay. So already we discussed, but did not cover much. Okay. So let's
Methods
say I
with
have a
same name and
same name and signature. Okay. Since you know
different.
that, I just write an example. Okay. Since int ops. Okay. I will write int ops inty. So this is all you know. So they will not ask you What is overloading, overriding? They will ask you what is they give us something name called polymorphism. So runtime polymorphism and compile time. So overloading is a compile time polymorphism. How you are defining that which like somebody is calling this in docs. Let's say I'm calling this in docs somewhere. Okay.
Mm.
It's somewhere here. Okay. And if I pass this, okay, this is overloaded constructor, not overloaded method. I write a method, add in, and I'm just passing one. So somebody is calling add it with one parameter. That means which one will be called? See, now question is, I have two add-in method with same everything same signature same. Only difference that I have an extra parameter here. So these two are overloaded method. Now,
Mm.
if I call this, can you tell me which one will be called?
The first one.
First one, right? So compiler knows something which compiler can validate. Okay,
Mm.
then it is called compile time, and sometimes which
Poly.
has to be evaluated on a runtime, it is called runtime. So yeah, since this is polymorphism means what? The same thing you are exposing in a very polymorph means what? Something you are exposing in a different way. Like same name, same signatures, but it a
Same.
different purpose. Okay, so
Mm.
that's so one thing is like let's say you have a test method, abstract test method, and you override in the child class. That is a runtime, right? Because when the object will be created and object dot method name will be called, then only it will be decided either it will be base class method or it will be child class method, which one will be called. But here there
Mm.
is no confusion. In case of overloading, it is straightforward that this method will only be called. So that's why it is called compile time polymorphism. That means it is overloading. And when we say runtime polymorphism, it is overriding. Fine. Yeah. Anyway, we'll like when we share the questions, and even if you Google the OOPS concept questions, you will anyway get. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
But it's the core concept. Why it is called? That's the explanation. Okay. Because it is decided on the compile time only which one will be called. So in case of
Okay.
overriding, it will be decided when the program actually loaded. So object
Yeah.
is created, and based on that, it will be decided.
Yes.
So overloading, overriding, constant we cover. Anything else we missed? We'll see. If anything missed, we'll cover later. So let's quickly jump already late. So, but still have to start. Okay. Yeah. So now we will touch upon the. Initially, my plan was to cover everything in one class, but I already cleared. We will start with. We'll start we'll cover halfway of the delegates, and then we will cover rest in the next class. Okay. So once we start delegates, advanced concept of C sharp will start, where actually it is now it will be different from other hooks languages. Let's say you have Java or you have any other C++. Till now, whatever you have studied is almost same, right? More or less syntax wise it will be different, but constant concept wise it will be same. All variable declaration, read only constant, constructor, only the getter setter will be different, but the overloading, overriding, then child class, base class, this interface, everything same in many of the hooks concept. But now onwards, it will be a little bit different. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll take another class, delegates. We can say, uh, yeah, let's say write delegates. We'll create separate classes for everything so that, uh, okay, documented, fine. So to start with delegates, we have to cover a little bit of background. So um, what when we declare a method, let's focus on the method. Any of so basically, what we are passing either integer xy or at best we can pass an object. Okay, so that example I did not show you. So we can create a class, pass and create a class. Sorry, we can create a class and we can pass the class object also, right? So let's
Hmm.
me do one thing. Let public class testing. Okay, I will declare some variable public int x, and I'll declare a method also public test. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll initialize it somewhere. Okay, here. So I'll write a method called public void to test or testing ref type. Okay. So not only variables, we can pass also the classes as reference. Okay. And inside that, it will be all the, based on access specifier, the object or the method will be accessible, right?
Hmm.
So that means we can pass the value types like int x, int y, a reference type also. So ideally, which is, which object or an instance we are passing, then we call as reference types. Okay. So why it is called reference types? Any idea? And why it is called value types? So ideally, what we are doing is we are not, you know, we are just simply we are asking that it needs a reference of obj. That means it actually there's no object created. The whoever is going to call this one, he has to create the object. That means that testing, right? Obj. mm, Testing of obj. So whoever is calling is passing. So when I'm passing, what I'm doing is actually, one instance is created. That means what compiler will do, it will load that testing class. It will create an object of the testing class. Okay, when you create a new keyword, what happens is it create object means basically what happens, it creates separate memory location. Okay,
Hmm.
it will in the runtime it will create memory location. It will load the related logic variables inside that memory location, and that address it will pass. Okay, that means if you, let's say if I do something this obj, right?
Hmm.
I have declared one variable called x, right? What is that? Yeah, x. So if I change something here on the x, it is reflectable where whoever is accessing this object. Okay. Let's say if I again I call another method, some xyz method, I'll pass this object. Okay. Let's say I'm calling something, some xyz, and pass this object. This this method only we're passing the reference. That means if you in that method also you are changing something on the x, it will be reflected everywhere. Okay. So let me show you a better example of this. Where are we? I'll show you a stat project. Okay. This is very important reference type, then only we can understand this one. Okay. So let me take another class. Hmm, yeah, understanding the ref type. So public int test where test variable. Okay. void test. Okay, so now I have another class which is going to use this. Use ref type class. Okay. Now I will access this using uh, an
Creating an
object.
object.
Yeah. Now obj I've assigned a value. Obj. Sorry,
Test
test var.
where.
Yeah. Okay, let's build solution. We'll see what happened. What is the error? Use ref type. Ref type object I created. Object test var. Mm, page. Okay. Yes, we cannot use that one outside of the method. We have to write some method. Okay, that's what he's saying. So testing ref type. That's why the error was. So yeah, I created a global object. No problem. That is also fine. But just to be honest, specific, I just will write a local object. Obj test for one. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll create another object. Okay, obj two, obj now equal to, and let's see. Okay, now it will be a very good example of a reference type. Okay, and we have to call it somewhere. Use ref. So you understand? I created a class and another class where I written a method. I'm creating the object of that first class. I'm accessing the variable. Then I'm assigning that reference type to another that object to another instance, and that another instance dot test where I'm assigning. Okay.
But
So
why
now
we
let's
couldn't create it outside the object? Like,
yeah. See what happens is the object we can create. Okay, there is no problem. We
yeah.
can create object, but you cannot do any operations, right? I was trying to do some operations. Operation has to be logic has to be wrapped inside a either getter setter or inside a method, right? I was trying to write
Okay.
a logic inside a class. That's what is giving
Oh,
error. Okay. Now clear?
yeah.
Made out? Yeah. So we are talking about the reference type. Now I'm running the program. Now let's see. Okay, wait. So test where object is 2. Test where object is 2. This is also 2. Clear? Let me start from the beginning. See, I created an object. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
And the value I assigned is 1. Okay. You can see that in the intelligence and the watch, or you can,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
hmm, it is 1 now. Now, I assign, reassign to the another reference type, and then
Mm.
reassign, rechange the value to 2. Now it is 2. Here also 2.
But that
obj.str
is,
also 2,
yeah.
obj 2. Why? Because they share the same address. Okay. So
Oh,
when
two
you
equal to
do,
one. Okay,
yeah,
got it. Yeah.
when you
Mm.
do new means what? That class will be loaded into memory, and you know, one address will be created, and
Great.
that's where after that only initialization is complete. Okay. And whenever you reassign that value to anything or pass it, you're only passing, not only you're not passing the value, we're passing the address.
Address.
Okay, it's basic concept of C++ also. We are passing the address, and that's how we are actually, making reusable and also saving memory. Every time if you start loading everything, whenever somebody do, create an object, because if you declare values are immutable types. Anytime you declare, it takes up a memory. Okay, when I write, int x here,
Mm.
if I write int x, then again int y, int x is equal to, let's say, 3, and int y is equal to 4 x, and then if you inspect, then you write y is equal to uh, y plus 9. Okay, and that means what happens in this case? I will just drag
Why
up here
three? Three. Mm.
3. Okay, but x will not change now. Y has changed,
Mm.
but x means 3. That means, um, although you did an assignment here to y to x, that means they only share the values, not the address. Here,
Mm.
you are saying that you are only sharing the address. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and wherever you use this object, let's say there is another method you have written. Okay. Wherever you pass this one, now you're getting concept are getting clear, right?
Mm.
And we will see. Okay. obj.test. I'll change it here. I'll give something some different name so that you get equal to 10. Let's see what is happening, and we'll call this test obj here. I'll pass this obj. Okay.
Two.
That means when you create a instance, a new address space will be created, and wherever you are passing that instance, you are actually sharing the address space, not the value. That's why it is called reference type, not the value type. When you say
Valid.
value type, you are passing the value types. Okay, and it is
Mm.
immutable. Immutable means what? They do not share same address
Changed.
space.
Cannot be
Okay,
changed.
it's
Mm.
different, altogether different. Okay, although string is also a reference type, but it is immutable. So when you do create a string X, although string is a class type, it's a reference type, and you do another string y is equal to x, they do not share the same address space. The address space will be different. Okay, that's why they are called immutable types. You understood
Mm.
what is immutable types?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write the word so that you can later you will remember. Anyway, to be shared in the document. Okay. So, so now let's test this one. There is reference types. I could have explained the
The
same
same.
class one itself. There's some typos. What is happening?
Yeah. Already you declared X and Y.
No, why this? There's something. It is already declared. Okay, okay. Because I was getting some other prompt. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So yeah. Yeah, immutable. This is also immutable, but it is mutable. Means you can share the same address with others. Okay. So let's quickly jump into this. Now, I created a test where obj and reassign. This is we understood. Okay. This is obj2 and obj are actually sharing the same address. So any variable you are changing, any state you are changing inside that same address space, it will be reflectable wherever the address is shared. So obj also shares same address. Obj2 also share the same address. So if
Mm.
I'm using this reference also I'm changing here, or using this reference also I'm changing here, means basically I'm changing the same thing. Okay, same
Mm.
object. Because here obj and obj2 are sharing the same address. Same in the case of here passing that object to a method. Okay, so here made 10. Now let's see. Okay, the scope has been
Scope
because
is gone.
scope has removed. That's why it's not accessible. But since yeah, all in all, what is happening is that we are saying only pass the reference type. So ideally, we have manipulating the same address space. Okay, same.
Mm.
That means something is loaded into the memory, and you are giving a reference to everyone, and anyone can change it. Okay, and that's why it is
Okay.
very important to mention the access specifier. Okay, because everyone can have the ability to change. So somebody changes means the value will change. So you have to control, and that's why you need a proper access specifier. So something you don't want to change, you have to declare it private. Something you want to
Mm.
change, but for the child class only, not through the object. Then you have to declare protected.
Protected.
Okay, and
Mm.
something you want to change by everyone, then you have to declare public.
Public.
Okay,
Mm.
so that's the difference between reference type and value type. Now, here we are only passing either reference type or value type. Can we pass a method? That's the question. Because sometimes in some scenario, I need that. It is needed. Okay. That means we are passing a class reference or we're passing a value, means value type integer x, y as a parameter to a method.
Mm.
Can we pass, can we pass a method as a parameter, method name as a parameter? Ideally, you cannot. How? So let's see, you have this test obj, and then I have another called public void test. I cannot pass this method name. It will give error, right?
Mm. Mm.
Because method as such doesn't have any existence. It has to be wrapped inside a class. Okay. Method doesn't
Mm.
take up any space, so it is neither a reference type, neither a value type. So obviously, what you like reference type value types means when you talk about that term, we are talking about address. Means something is loaded into the memory, and either we are passing the value or passing the address, right?
Address.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you have the value type, we are passing the value. If it is reference type, we are passing the address.
Address.
But test to like method doesn't have its own existence. It has to be wrapped inside a class. So yeah, that means you cannot pass. It doesn't have any memory of its own, or it doesn't have any value of its own. So we cannot pass. Either you have to pass a class name. So some places like we have something called event handling. Okay, and in some places we need. For I'll give an example, just theoretical. We'll do this practical. Some places let's say two teams are working. One is database connections, who's working the database side, another on the UI side. So UI team will say that uh, uh, I want to decide which database to connect. Like I have 4 or 5 databases. I will decide which database to connect. But the as a database team, you do not want to give that luxury them to get into your logic and write database connections code. So what it will and he will also say that when I will call, it will be not static. Like I will not be. It is not decided when I write the code. It will be decided on the runtime from the UI side. That means you'll write a method called initialize connection method. Okay,
Mm.
and or you will just create a reference of that method and ask them that okay, we will pass you the reference of the method and you call it with some parameter 1 2 or 3. If one, we will understand that okay, you want database 1 2 means. So how to initialize the database and the logic to initialize the database, only to initialize, not any other operations. You write, since you are asking the UI team to write the logic to initialize the database is we give the luxury to the UI team to write and pass the reference of that method. Okay. So when database connection class will be initialized, that method will be called by us. So implementation will be done by you, but calling of that implementation is upon us on the database team. You understood, right? Okay. Let me, so uh, okay. So this is your database team, and this is your UI team.
Mhm.
This is sorry. Ah, okay. Okay, this is I'm just writing DB D. Okay, and this is U. So DB team. Uh, what else? In UI team is saying that how to initialize which database to connect. We have written a method. Okay,
Okay.
and that will give us the connections details. Okay, and they are saying and database team has agreed. Okay, you can do this, but you cannot do anything beyond that. Like how to insert your table, fetch record from the table, all this database like things you cannot do. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, they said okay, fine, we are fine with that. But yeah, how to initialize that, how to get the connection details, that we will write. Now, database team needs that connection details, right? Others, how they will write
Yes.
code to initialize. So what they will do, they'll create a reference of that method, and they inside that code they will keep calling that reference. Okay, means the initialization of the connections has not been written yet. It will be written by this team, but
Mm.
that method will be called by them, the DB class. Okay, that means you will create a delegate, and you will call the delegate. Okay, and the delegate will be implemented by the UI class. Okay, so
Okay.
when the runtime, when you call the delegate, what will in turn you are calling the method which is written by the UI class. Clear? Little
Okay.
bit?
Okay. Mm, mm.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the concept of delegate. Before that, to start up with the delegates, we need few more things. One is your static class. Okay. Static class, then static method, then the extension method, and then delegate. Okay. We'll go
Okay.
slow because this is very important. I don't think any um, uh, training institute will share this much detail, but this tiny detail. See, mostly we have to focus on this core concept. Okay, later on you can learning ASP.NET and Windows Service, any applications developed using C Sharp will be easy for you. Okay, because
Okay.
those are implementation, right? If you do not,
Yes.
let's say you get a code and you do not understand what's written inside the code, then how will you understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
So ideally, company what you will be given a short KT and then they will straightforward give you the source code. And if you do not know what's how it is written, where the code is flowing, what is abstract class, what is delegate, if you've written so many things, then you'll not understand anything, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Now CS. So we're talking about static and extension methods. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'll write a static method. Okay. Now I created another method to test this in another class. Better to be another class. Now, how to access this one? Probably using reference dot
To
test,
test.
right? This is called static class. Okay.
Mm.
And this is so what happens in the static class is when the program is loaded, the if something you have declared static, it will be loaded into the memory. Okay, so one reference of static extension class with the details of the methods already loaded. You do not have to initialize, you can directly access. And same with the variables also. Okay. So yeah, apart from that, there's something called extension methods. Okay. So extension methods means what? This let's say you have existing let's say you have a string class. Okay. And inside the string class already the logic is written. But and it is very old logic. Nobody is allowed to touch that class now. But you want to have an additional functionality add to that class. So what you can do is you can create a mm, create the child class of the string class and you can use. But now it is since it is very old class already, everybody is using string class. Nobody is interested to use the right child class now because to replace the string class with a child class, again you have to rewrite all the code, right?
Mm.
And the extra logic is needed only in few places. So to work around with this, they have come up with the extension method. Okay, one second. So how extension methods are written? And I'll show you there are plenty of examples of extension methods. You will come to know once it is written. Okay. Case test. Example. So what you have to do is you have to write you are called this. You have to return hmm, nothing. You have to return string plus I. Okay, I need to return, right? Yeah. It may be non-static. No, space. Okay. Okay, let me write the this one, then I will show you the example.
Okay.
So, one second, my back is paining. Just one second.
Okay.
So yeah, let's start. I'm ready. So this one, yeah, we have written actually. So yeah, coming to this example. So we have written a static method that is ext example string str. Okay. So now you have to write something called string s here and testing. Yes, that example. Okay, what I have done here. So forget out this one. Okay, I'm just simplifying this one. Yeah. So inside a static class, I've written a static method. Okay, I think it is even static is not required. Required? Okay, so it is required. Yeah. So fine. What is happening here is that inside a static class, I written a static method. This string is here. That means what I'm doing is there is a there is an object called like str object. Okay, so uh, to manipulate that object, what we do is we pass as a parameter. Okay, and then we do some manipulations. For example, with that, if you don't want to do this, what you will do ideally is that you have to call this static ext.example,
Yeah.
and you have to pass the s, and s will return something. So what you're doing that instead parameter dot method name you're doing. Instead of doing that, you're doing reverse, right?
Oh, okay.
If you ideally what we that we method name we call, and inside that we pass the parameter. There is a need for this. Okay, we will come to that when come to the link queue and all these things. So ideally what you did, you have a static. So ideally what you do is call the method name and you pass the parameter. What you're
Yeah.
calling that your method name as a parameter name dot method name you're doing. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is the example of extension, and the signature will remain same. Okay, it has to be static class, static method. Okay, and why I'll tell you. Dot method name. And if you see entire string class is like that. If you let's say I will declare x is equal to 9, and you see x dot toString, right? So dot toString is nothing but an extension method. If you go inside that toString, if you allow you to go inside, it is not allowing you. So toString, to 32, everything is a extension method. Okay, this
Okay.
all this all this all classes are extension methods. Okay, they are not sorry, this all methods are extension methods. That means actually basically what you are doing is you are there is a static class, the string class. Basically internally what is happening, there is string class. Sorry, internally what is actually happening is string class dot toString means it will give compilation error. But what compiler does, I am telling you, and you're passing x, and it is returning a string. Okay,
Mm. Mm-mm.
instead of doing that, what you're doing that you're doing this, and it is very it is very easy also, right? You do not have to create a class or something. One variable you want to convert to the string means you are extending the functionality. Some
Yeah.
functionality already exists and you want to extend it. Okay, so what happens is, let's say you have an you have another class. Okay, public class test, and public class okay, testing ext. Now this class is very old class. Already all the implementation has been written. Okay. But you want to create another one more implementation for that. But you do not want to touch. You do not. And also, since this object of this already been used many places, now you cannot create, and look, you cannot modify the code. That's it. It's the end of the world. But still, they want you to add another functionality to this. What? How you are going to do? Come here, do this. Instead of pass string, you pass this ref. Okay, and then you can you do okay, maybe anything you want to do. Okay, let's say it has some variable public int temp. Okay, now you do one thing, return ref. Okay, ref is the keyword you cannot use. I will use obj dot ext example. mm, sorry, temp. Okay. Now, first I will assign that value. I will assign some value. Otherwise, it will be error. Temp where or to be on safer side, temp 2 is equal to this one, and return temp2 dot toString. So what I'm doing is that there's something, they asked me to add a, add an integer. Okay. Add an integer variable. Okay.
Hmm.
And add an integer variable to that class. That's the only thing they allowed me. Okay. Or maybe they may not allow anything to do with that class also. Okay. They will say that there is already existing called temp, existing variable called temp. We have to convert that to string, but don't write anything on the testing.txt. It's already existing method. So to extend that functionality, what you do, I'm just extending the functionality of this one. I'm not changing it. That's what is called extension methods. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm. So I did that. Now, how to use that? Now, I will create an object of this. So we do dot ext. What is that? Yeah,
Yes.
ext example, right?
Hmm.
Hmm. And since it is a returning string, I will catch it in some variable and I can display, right?
Okay.
So what is the purpose of extension method? We are extending functionality to something existing, and basically it is applicable to the mostly to the reference types. So some reference type already exists or some class already exists. We cannot modify, we cannot inherit. That's the condition being set because this is already existing code and you want to extend. And also you want a shorthand implementation. Another use of that is shorthand implementation. Means see here what you have to you want to convert a string, what you have to do, you have to call string dot to string and pass, right? You're writing a very long thing. Instead of doing what you did, you're doing x dot to string. So
Those two.
integer is value type, but internally it has something called int32 structure. Okay. So that has a to string extension method already written. Okay. Here, same thing. Instead of something by creating object, say instead of creating the object and all, yeah. So this method ext example doesn't exist inside the class. It is written later. This class is written earlier, and after long back, this code is written. And there's one more benefit of that is that something you can write outside of this class also. And third benefit or most important is shorthand example. You can shorten the implementation. Okay, means you do not have to explicitly like create object. Um, for this example, okay, and here also you can see we do not have to explicitly call something and pass the value and then and return it. Instead of that, parameter dot method name. Okay,
Hmm.
so what is that? Already I have written parameter dot method name. So little bit confusing, but are you clear on this?
I'm trying to understand. Maybe I'll go through it again tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think we should stop then. Okay, just look into this. I
Okay.
have created a class. This is very important. I will place it on the top. This is written very earlier. Okay, this is very legacy code. Nobody else is allowed to touch. Now, some functionality they ask you to implement, but condition is that you cannot change the class. You cannot change anything on the class. You cannot um, do any modification on the existing code. Just
Hmm.
add one more basic functionality. Okay, if it is a huge, then it's a different basic functionality. Uh, then what you do is that you create an extension method. Extension
Hmm.
method basically takes that class object as a parameter
Okay.
and then it does some operation and return may or may not return anything. Okay, it does some
Okay.
operation. Okay,
Yeah. Hmm.
and how to call that one is that you have to object dot method name. Means basically here like you can say parameter dot method name.
Hmm.
Okay, So in other cases, what would have been there is the caller class.
Method
You have to create, yeah, your caller class. You have to create an object, and then
object.
object dot method name, then pass this actual class as a parameter, right? So this is lengthy explain and lengthy implementation. Instead of that, directly the class where you want to extend, okay, you class object dot method name. Okay. So ideally you should have been like if it is this one, then somebody has to pass the object. Instead of that,
Mm,
object dot method name. So internally, this method will take the parameter of obj2. Okay.
mm.
And this will be very helpful in case of delegates. Okay. So what happens in case of we'll cover this in the next class. Okay. Uh, we will delegates. We will pass this extension methods and combinedly we'll create expressions and then we'll create link queries. Okay. So
Okay.
you have to call the delegates, and in the delegates we have to like if you see, if you remember link or if you don't know, you can see in the like just google it. You'll see a lot of s dot order by dot where dot this dot
Mm.
that. Okay, that will be called like that's called chain of expressions. So we can build chain of expressions using extension methods. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay, but it is like you need some time for you to understand. Just go through these extension methods and
Okay.
we'll cover in the next class delegates. We're running one class behind. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll try to catch it up. No problem. So this
Sure.
source code, I will only this one, this file I'm placing it. Okay.
Okay. Are you placing it in the same folder as the recording, or
Because
is it?
this, no, recording will be separate folder. Okay.
Okay.
And program.cs and first let me post because it's very important for you to start immediately practice whenever you're doing code done, right? I think you have access to this folder.
Yeah.
And recording, give me some time, okay, 5 minutes, I'll be
Yeah.
uploading.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fine. That's fine.
because it has to be available in the geo. Like recording has to take some time to be available.